At the end of this week's Parsha, we find the story of the Sar Ha'ifim and the Sar HaTabachim coming to Yosef in the prison and asking for him to interpret their respective dreams. And we all know the story where the first one was a Sar HaTabachim, and he recounted to Yosef the dream he had, in which there were 3 vines of grapes, and he was holding the cup of Pari's royal cup, and he took some of the grapes from the vines, which he squeezed into Pari's cup, and then he took Pari's cup and he placed it in Pari's hand. And Yosef interpreted the dream that it has a happy, positive outcome. In 3 days, you're going to be reinstated into your previous role, and you're going to be Pari's butler again. And immediately after, the Sar Ha'ifim sees that and says, I also had a dream, very similar, and there were 3 baskets on top of my head with different breads and baked goods, and birds came and started eating away at my breads that were sitting on the baskets. And Yosef HaTzadik interprets this dream with a very different interpretation, with a very tragic end, that in 3 days, not only you're not going to be reinstated, but in fact, you're going to be killed. So how do we understand the dramatically different outcomes and end results of these 2 dreams? They seem to be similar. They both have similarities and parallels. 3 days, 3. Why was it that Yosef HaTzadik interpreted the dream of the Sar HaTabachim that he's going to have a positive outcome, and the Sar Ha'ifim is going to have a negative outcome? What did he see in each respective dream that led him to that conclusion? There's a very fundamental lesson in life that can be learned out from this story, from these 2 dreams. There is a fundamental difference between the 2. The Sar HaTabachim, he was active. In his dream, he took action. He took grapes and he squeezed them and produced wine into Pari's cup. And then he took the cup and he placed it in Pari's hands. So he was engaged in activity, in action, in doing. That's the sign of the living. The sign of somebody who's alive, somebody who's fully engaged in life, is somebody who does. He's a doer. He takes action. He doesn't just sit around. However, but the Sar Ha'ifim was very different. The Sar Ha'ifim's dream, he didn't do anything. He was passive. He was just an observer. Everything that was happening to him. There he was standing with 3 baskets on his head. And the birds came and ate from the baked goods on his head. But he himself did not do anything. He wasn't active in any which way. He was passive. So when Yosef HaTzadik heard that, he knew that's a sign of somebody who's dead. That's a sign of somebody who's not alive. And that's why he made that interpretation that he's going to have an outcome in which his end is near. This is a very powerful call, a very powerful lesson as we go through life. Certainly, when we were young and idealistic and perhaps a little bit naive, we all dreamed of changing the world, of embarking on revolutions to bring goodness and kindness and chesed to the whole world. And after we go through a few decades of life, we go through a few years of trying to support a family, of trying to build a marriage and build a home, many times life's challenges wear us down. And many times the enthusiasm and the idealism of our youth gets worn away, where we get to a place of passivity, of just staying on the sidelines and allowing life to happen. Things just happen to us. If we're in a bad place, we'll be embittered, we'll be resentful. There are people who walk around with a sense of self-pity that life handed them a bad deal. If a person works on himself, he'll accept that everything that happens to him is from Hashem. But that's it. He'll stop right there. And he'll stay an observer in life without doing anything. And from our Parsha, we learn a very fundamental yesod. True living demands that we don't just sit on the sidelines and wait for life to happen to us, wait for opportunities to happen to us. Rather, we need to be proactive. We need to take initiative and go out of our comfort zone and to take action and to do. To do, we have to do, take action. If it's going to be successful or not, that's none of our business. That's up to Hashem. What our strengths are, what our circumstances are, that's not up to us. That's up to Hashem. But He wants us to do. He doesn't want us to just sit around and wait. But why is that? Why is it so important? If Hashem runs the entire world and everything is in His hands, and whatever I have is anyway from Him, my talent, my ideas, my intellect, my abilities, if everything is from Him and He's the perfect conductor, why indeed do I need to do anything? Imagine your best friend or someone you're very close with, a loved one, and there's a relationship between these two people, between you and the other person. Now you know that this other person loves you unconditionally, always has your back, truly understands you, and truly believes in you. But you need this person. You need this person, whether you need their financial support, their emotional support, their spiritual guidance and support. They are somebody who has more experience and more capacity and more resources, and you rely on this person. However, this other person does not need you for anything. They love you dearly, unconditionally, in fact. They're your biggest fan, your biggest supporter, your biggest cheerleader. You can always cry to them and they'll always understand you. But this other person has no need, has nothing that you can give that person. This relationship, as beautiful as it is not ideal. It doesn't feel, if you close your eyes for a moment and imagine what it's like to feel, I need you, but you don't necessarily need me or rely on me for anything. But if we imagine a relationship where I need you, but there are things that you need me as well. There are things that you depend on me for because you can't do it. That relationship has an added element of intimacy. That relationship where I need you, but you also need me, I'm also needed, that brings the relationship to a whole new level of closeness and intimacy. So surely Hashem loves us unconditionally, understands us, believes in us, encourages us. But if He were to create the world in which we only need Him and he has no need for me, it wouldn't be the ultimate closeness, the ultimate beautiful relationship. Hashem wanted much more than that. He wanted us to have the ideal intimacy with him. And so he created the world in such a way where he needs us. He needs me. There are certain things which he, however we could understand it, there are certain things he cannot do without us. And therefore, although we are desperately reliant and dependent on him, there are certain things which he needs us humans to do. And that's where action takes place. And that's being truly alive. Hashem doesn't want us just to sit around and wait for things to happen. If there's a need, whether it's in chesed, if there's a need in parnasa, if there's a need in any area, he wants us to roll up our sleeves and do. Are you going to be successful? Is it going to pan out the way I wanted or thought? That's up to him. But he wants us to take action. We're in a world of action, a world of Maisa, a world of doing, of being proactive, of stepping up to the plate and doing something. And that Hashem needs us. So when I wake up in the morning, I'm needed. I am needed because the way Hashem made the world, we're actually partners. We are partners in creation. I'm a co-creator of the world with Hashem. Of course, even that itself comes from him. But he created this world in such a way where I wake up in the morning and I know I'm needed. Hashem's depending on me. He wants me to step up to the plate. He wants me to do my part in the partnership. He doesn't want me just to be an observer and a spectator watching life. He wants me to get into the arena, roll up my sleeves, get dirty, try this, try that, work on this midah, work on parnasa, work on your chinuch with your children, work on a relationship. You see there's a need in the community, step up and do something. Don't just raise up your hand and say Hashem will take care of it. That's the lesson of this parsha. The Sarah Tabachim, he was alive because he was doing his partnership. He was doing. The Sarah Eifim, he was just a spectator. That's dead. So every moment we can walk around with this incredible knowledge and awareness that little me, yes, Hashem needs me because I am his partner.